Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Kimbo here. And first things first, it's really warm outside, so it's actually melting everything like crazy. That icicle used to be down to the ground, or basically down to the ground. But you can see all the water and stuff coming off. So yeah, that's why I'm outside, mainly a t-shirt and shorts, because, you know, it's actually kind of nice. It's 48 degrees, and that's like summer around here. I don't know. Or at least it feels like it anyways. But yeah, gotta rock my Pokemon Snapback. So yeah, you know, I'm a big fan of Pokemon, anybody who doesn't know, and this is also really flooded, but it's fine. But yeah, anyways, in this video, I'm going to basically talk about something I'm sure a lot of people have been curious about, at least from me, and that being like, you know, your thoughts on the old Bakugan series. So obviously people have known I've done Bakugan content even since I started my channel, and I was big time into the show when it was around, like, you know, the first era of Bakugan with Dan Kuso, Runo, Julie, Shun, everybody, you know, and I watched all the seasons. You know, I watched like Battle Brawlers, New Vestroia, Gundalian Invaders, Mechtanium Surge, Arc 1 and 2, and I know, like, basically all of them by heart. So, yeah, anybody who wants me to give, like, my thoughts on them, or have been waiting for me to give my thoughts on them, you're going to find out now, and I'm also going to probably walk around my complex while I do it, because, you know what, it's kind of nice out, and I don't want to be inside. But, yeah, and it's also Super Bowl Sunday. I don't know if it's going to be out the same day, but, yeah, if so, honestly rooting for the Rams, not gonna lie. But yeah, anyways, so my thoughts on the first era of Beyblade. I guess I'll go through, like, I guess the products and also like the storyline for each era, you know, one by one. So this will be kind of a longer video. It'll mainly be me talking about stuff, you know. So yeah, anyways, so we're going to start things off, obviously, with Battle Brawlers. So, Bakugan Battle Brawlers, that's the season that mainly everybody knows about, you know, because Dan Marucho, Julie Shun, all the Battle Brawlers. And then they have the intro with, like, Alice and such, and everybody gets nostalgia when they hear, like, you know, the theme song. Well, you know, it was the same for all the seasons, you know. It was like Beyblade. They had the same theme song the whole way out, the whole way through the entire series. But, yeah. So my thoughts on the first season, obviously, like, the storyline was so great. Obviously, you just had it starting off with all of the brawlers, you know, being these kids that live in this hometown, and they finally all get together, and, you know, they start brawling one another, and then the whole thing with Masquerade coming in, taking over, and, like, kind of controlling other, like, brawlers, like, you know, like Billy and Comba and such, all of them, and Julio, but yeah, and then obviously the whole thing with, like, Masquerade trying to have the ultimate Bakugan, bringing out his Hydronoid, and then obviously evolving into dual Hydronoid. Then they had the Doom Dimension arc, where all of the brawlers, you know, go down into the Doom Dimension, face the Warriors of Vestroia, get stronger, come back basically to fight against Masquerade, except Dan didn't pass his right away. Well, he had an extra one. He had to take down all of his friends, and then Drago became the ultimate Dragonoid, you know. So yeah, and obviously all the evolutions for Drago went from being like the original Dragonoid to Delta Dragonoid to the ultimate Dragonoid, you know, by this point, and then, like, obviously evolving into Infinity Dragonoid and such, and then the whole thing with New Vestroia, some of the worlds crossing over, so you had, like, Pyrus and Darkus attributed Bakugan, and then you have, like, Ventus, Aquas, or such like that, you know, like Bakugan that were, like, dual attributes, you know, and then they made, like, some dual attribute Bakugan in real life because of that, you know, which was kind of cool. So yeah, and then obviously the whole entire theme for it was the whole plot was, like, Hal G and Naga being created when you know, like, well, no, Hal G and Naga being the main rulers, and then Masquerade and Hal G being created once Naga tried to get a hold of the Infinity Core, or, like, the Silent Core, absorbed himself with the Silent Core. The Infinity Core went to Earth, Wyvern absorbed it and such, and then that in turn created, with the Doom, like, the whole Dimensional Ripple created, Hal G, which was Alice's grandfather, and then Masquerade, which was Alice. You know, I know it's a little bit of a spoiler, but yeah, overall, like, the whole story was just so great, dude. It was honestly perfect. It was the perfect series, dude, and the whole game as, like, a whole, it was just so amazing at that time period, you know, because, like, it was so great, because obviously you had, like, the regular Bakugan balls, which they made them smaller at first, and then they made them, like, a little bit bigger, you know, so they're easier to roll, and then they can land on the cards a little bit easier. Either that or to make it, I think, no, so they land on the cards a little bit easier because they're bigger in size. But yeah, but overall, like, the entire series as a whole, the entire plot, like, up till even up to like Infinity Dragonoid, and then taking down Naga, saving the world and such, and then all of the Bakugan going back to Vestroia. Drago becoming the perfect core because he absorbed the power of the Silent Core when he took down Naga, as well as the Infinity Core that he got from Wyvern, you know, when she was taken down in a battle. And then he went back to form the new Vestroia. So yeah, overall the story was absolutely perfect. It was amazing. I was so hyped with it when I was a kid. I was like, dude, this is amazing. This is awesome. It's absolutely awesome, dude. It's just so good, so awesome. Such an amazing series. And obviously wanted to get into getting the Bakugan myself, but like when I was younger, I didn't have like the most money or such. I was literally that kid that got to go to Walmart like one time, you know, a month, and I would use that one time to get a Bakugan. Yeah. So yeah, you know, but overall, like all the Bakugan and such, even in ball form, just so cool. They all looked amazing. Some of them I wish got like released, like Tegan and Tricoid, you know, some of like the mutant Bakugan, like the Bakugan that have like 2 attributes and such. I wish some of them got released, but unfortunately they weren't. But that's one thing that I thought was like kind of a downer, because they didn't release those Bakugan, but still, all the ones they did a great job. And yeah, and like I said, Hydronoid's pretty rare, like the single-headed Hydronoid, obviously, because it's in the 2 sets. The 2 sets, obviously, I unboxed, but yeah, so yeah, those are my thoughts. Toy line wise, same thing, really good, you know, got through all of that. So yeah, then now time for season 2, which I know a lot of people remember season 2, and it's probably their favorite. So this is the season where starts off with, you know, Drago being the perfect core. Everybody's getting taken down in New Vestroia, like, you know, like all the warriors, like, you know, Tigrera, Hydronoid, Skyrus, Gorum, you know, Preus. Everybody, they got taken down, and basically it was like the Vexos invaded New Vestroia. This is the group with like Gus, Spectra, Mylene, Shadow Probe, you know, all of them, you know, and Volt, you know, just everybody, you know, with the Vexos. And then there's the whole arc of Drago coming back to Earth, reuniting with Dan, saying that Dan being excited to see him. He's like, Drago, is that you? Oh my gosh. But then Drago kind of has his power restricted because, you know, Neo Dragonoid, you know, doesn't have all the power of the Infinity Core that Infinity to Drago did, so he got weaker. But then, you know, went back to Earth and basically got Dan, took him to New Vestroia and asked for his help, and then met up with the Bakugan Brawlers Resistance. So he had Mira, Ace, Baron, you know, all of them. At first, obviously, Ace didn't like Dan, and then like they battled and then like gained his respect and stuff, and then, you know, became a force. And then basically the whole fight with the Vexos, they had to go from each city to each city and save the Bakugan by taking down the dimensional controllers, because those controllers made it where the Bakugan stayed in ball form outside of battle and couldn't roam around freely on New Vestroia, you know, and they were captive. And then they went from each city to each city, like taking down, you know, all the dimensional controllers. At the same time, obviously, like the Vexos getting stronger Bakugan, focusing on mechanical Bakugan. Even Spectra focusing on that, because Helios, you know, he made a cyborg Bakugan, because, you know, like Helios, the original Helios, which was like Viper Helios, evolved into cyborg Helios. But before that, Spectra, like there's a whole arc with Spectra. He managed to take down Dan, took Drago, tried to get the power from Drago, used all of the attributes, like from like the Infinity Core and, well, the perfect core that was in Drago, and tried to battle Dan with him, and Dan had to use Apolloneer. So like there was actually a point where Drago was like, you know, he was captured and used for evil, which was pretty cool to see in this. And then obviously after that, Dan got Drago back, and then then Spectra focused on you know, building up Cyborg, like, you know, making Cyborg Helios, and then like that's when he made like Max's Helios and then Max's Drago. They faced off. That was around the time of like the last dimensional controller breaking, and then yeah, I know if it's a little jumbled. I'm just trying to explain like literally all of Bakugan for anybody that doesn't know, as fast as I can. But then like broke all of those dimensional controllers. The Vexos retreated. They actually left Spectra for dead because like they saw him as a traitor and such, because he was trying to make like the ultimate Bakugan and undermine the prince's authority, well, the king's authority and such. And then they put the whole blame on him. The Vexos basically did. And then there's the whole arc in the second half of this season, which was really cool, because the Vexos obviously went into hiding. The soldiers of Vestroia, well, Zenoheld, the king himself, went after the soldiers of Vestroia, tried to get their power. They gave it to all of the Bakugan that the Brawlers Resistance had. They evolved, you know, so that's how Drago became Cross Dragonoid. So from Neo Dragonoid to Cross Dragonoid, that's how he evolved. And then that's when like you had Alphen evolve, you know, Nemesis evolved, Percival evolved, they all evolved, you know. And there's 3 different groups in this basically at this point. So Spectra, who added even more like technology to Helios, and that's what made Helios MK2, which is my favorite Bakugan in ball form. So amazing, so freaking awesome, and I just love it so much. Still my favorite Bakugan. It's my favorite Bakugan from like the first era, hands down, because it's just so cool. Look up the picture of it, you'll understand why, or just watch the show. Like, it's just so cool, and Spectra was amazing. But Spectra and Gus being 1, the Vexos being 2 under Zenoheld's rule, because he finally comes out of hiding. And then the Brawlers. And yeah, man, so the whole thing is like the Bakugan termination system, system designed to take down all the Bakugan. Had to get the attribute energies from all of the Brawlers Bakugan in order to power it up, which they ended up doing throughout the course of the entire season. You know, like throughout the entire second half. Once they were about to get it activated, they were trying to get all the Bakugan out of vestroia, and then Drago flew up with it into the sky, basically absorbed it. Saw Waver, and this is the last time we see like Waver in the show, you know, kind of. And then he evolves into Helix Drago. He absorbed the power of the BT system, saved New Vestroia, and evolved. And then there's a final showdown between Spectra with Helios, and then Dan with Drago, his new evolved Helix Drago. They face off. He manages to beat him, and then after that, Spectra actually turns good, dude, and Mira gets her brother back, because Mira, you know, his actual name's Keith, and Mira's brother. But then finally he comes over to the good side, which is pretty cool. They start focusing on battle gear. This is actually where they start focusing on battle gear. And then also like they're focusing on like these codes that are getting transmitted to all of them, which is sort of hinting at Gundalian invaders, obviously the next season. But yeah, at the same time, since he failed there, Professor Clay, Mira's dad and Spectra's dad, worked on the alternative with King Zenoheld, who's the leader of Vestroia. You know, he was the ruler of Vestroia, and then he got out, like, they all got, like, kicked out of Vestroia, obviously, and went into hiding, and went to a different dimension. But then they all transported to Earth from that dimension. That's how they were able to do that. But then, slowly all the Vexos started, like, turning on one another. It was mainly, like, honestly, it was Hydron, Prince Hydron, his son, you know, Zenoheld's son, that mainly turned his back on everybody. And you wanted to feel bad for the Vexos and like them. But yeah, dude, it was crazy. And also, like, the crazy thing about this series is just that, like, in every single season, there was a death. At least, like, a death. And I'll explain that further on, too. So, like, in the first season, there was, like, Noble Lion, Waver, and all those Bakugan, like, a few of those Bakugan that were taken down. In this season, there was, like, a few of the Bakugan were taken down. Mechanical Bakugan obviously got destroyed. Some of the Brawlers got taken down as well. It was crazy, dude. Like, you know, like Mylene Shadow Pro, a lot of them, you know, got taken down. I won't get, like, in a big time detail with that. I know I have already, kind of. But, yeah. What this ultimately leads up to, like, Professor Clay making the ultimate weapon system. The alternative literally destroys worlds, and it's crazy overkill with freaking power. He's trying to literally take control of every dimensional world Zenoheld is. Then the Brawlers go, face this gigantic freaking metal beast, manage to beat it, and the very last thing we see is, like, well, Professor Clay decides to stick around because they were trying to save him, you know, Spectra and Mira were trying to save him, but then he stays in, and they show some of the data of, like, the foreign Bakugan, like, the transmission system that they got, like, you know, the message that they got. It's how they made the battle gear and stuff. But it basically hints at Gundalian invaders. That's what it does, you know, the next season. But then, like, even then, like, Hydron, Zenoheld, Professor Clay, they're all, like, killed when the alternative blows up and stuff. And that's how it ends. And then Dan and the others go back to Earth. And then Spectra and the others go back to Vestal. Storyline-wise, like, all Bakugan was amazing. This was the most solid, because you had so much stuff going on within one season, and it took me that long to explain it, you know. So much going on in one season, it was just absolutely crazy, dude. It was so amazing, and plus the Bakugan, like, the Bakugan quality still were pretty dang good then, you know. Obviously, like, in Japan, they were a bit better, because obviously in Japan, they made, like, some exclusives, like Helios, MK2, Minx Elfin, Master Ingram, Cross Dragonoid, a few of these Bakugan that Spin Master didn't make, but they made them in Japan. That was one thing I wish they could have done, that they would have made that in the US, you know, like those Bakugan But yeah, they still were made just in Japan, so that's why they're a bit rarer and harder to find. But yeah, dude, that's another thing that would be the only thing I'd say would be bad. Overall, like story-wise, freaking perfect. Like literally, I'd say like, if not like same level season 1, probably even above season 1. You know, like because every single season was good in my opinion for sure. But I'll explain why when you know what the next ones. But anyways, yeah, toy-wise, great, and also storyline-wise, it was great too. And this is where they introduced like Trap Bakugan as such, was season 2. Now for season 3, Gundalian Invaders, basically, you know, Dan moves away from like his hometown. So anybody who's confused, like, you know, why Runo's not around or anything, it's because he moved around away from his hometown, like halfway across the world, and Julie just happened to be there. They had it where Julie moved to the same place because Bakugan. But yeah, so that's why Julie's still there. And then he meets Jake, and then, you know, like Jake's like a football player and such, shows him Bakugan Inner Space, because they're creating Bakugan Inner Space, the online place where all the brawlers can go in and battle and such. And then while in Inner Space, at the very, very end of like the second season, they introduced Ren, who was a Gundalian. And they started it off as like, you know, Gundalia's at war with Nethia, and Ren made it seem like, you know, the Nethians were the evil ones that invaded Gundalia, you know, to get the brawlers on their side. And then, you know, played around with them, had Nethians show up. Well, you know, Gundalians, but called them Nethians, show up, battle them, and basically, like, play around with their heads for a bit. And then, like, Fabia shows up. Fabia Sheen. She is the princess, the princess of Nethia. Serena, her sister, is the queen. And she shows up and is like, are you the brawlers? Oh no, like, I got here too late because Ren already got to them before she did. And then she had to try and convince them. Now, none of them were falling for it except for Shun, because Shun was the one that really had, like, the mind out of everybody. You know, it was a given. He wanted to get all the facts before he thought anything, and that's one thing I really loved about Shun as a character throughout the entire thing. But, yeah. it was pretty funny too, because like Shun was just like, nah, Ren. He's just sitting there messing with Ren the entire time when Fabio was there. Was like, you're a liar. I could tell you're a liar. And then like Dan and Fabio faced off, and then like after time, Fabio said that Gundalia was the one that invaded Nethia, and then they asked Ren. Ren said, no, this is a lie. They all believed Fabia, except for Marucho, who got really mad, and then after that they battled, and then Marucho found out the truth when he battled Ren. And then, sure enough, they joined Fabia. They went out to Nethia. They became Castle Knights. They defended Nethia. And then that started the whole entire, you know, they got involved with the war with Nethia and Gundalia. Then you had the 12 Orders. So you had, like, Gil. You had Kazarina. I honestly hated Kazarina. She was freaking evil. Oh, God. Like, if there's any character that triggered me the most in Bakugan was Kazarina for sure. But yeah, you had the 12 Orders, all of them, like Nurzak. Barodius was the king of Gundalia. You know, he was the ruler of Gundalia. And he was the true evil one. Like, throughout the series, you know, like, the 12 Orders obviously fought for him, and then, like, Ren actually turned over to the other side, like, back to the Brawlers, because, you know, he was kept in captivity. Lionheart, his Bakugan, had basically a forbidden power that the old Emperor before Barodius saw as being, like, really, really bad, you know, like, really dangerous and really harmful, so he was locked away. But then he got brought to the sunlight by Barodius, and then Barodius told him, like, you know, if you fight for me, I'll keep you, you know, you'll live in the sunlight and your dreams will come true, which Ren realized that was a bunch of crap, and then Barodius said he was going to send him back down there, and Darak did as well, then unleashed, like, the forbidden power and stuff, and this is where it started ramping up. Gundalia consistently tried to break into Nethia. There were 3 shields. Yeah, there were 3 shields. I don't know why I put 4 fingers. 3 shields. The first shield got broken in a battle. The second one got broken. And then the third one, towards the very end, had a code in it where, like, anybody with Gundalian DNA wasn't able to go in. And, you know, they weren't able to go into this. Except, like, the Brawlers ended up going to, Gundalia and launching a sneak attack. Well, it's mainly because, like, they couldn't go out and battle at first, and then Jake went off. Jake and Dan had a fight. Jake got captured by Kazarina, held captive, basically brainwashed, and fought for the Gundalians, because that's what they did with the kids in Inner Space, but now they're doing it with, like, the big brawlers like Jake and such, and then they had to go and try to save Jake, and then, Obviously, this is the season where like Drago evolved from like Helix Dragonoid, evolved into Cross Dragonoid once he got the element, because like the element is basically a little part of the Sacred Orb that was in Nethia. That's what Barodius is after. He wants that power. And Neo gave it to Drago. That's how he evolved into Cross Drago. And then he evolved into Blitz Drago during the point where Dragonoid Colossus showed up during like one of the last battles. And then Battle Dragonoid Colossus beat him and then evolved into Blitz Dragonoid. Yeah, I know Drago evolves a lot. That's one thing that's known big time about the series, is that Drago evolves a freaking lot for sure. But yeah, yeah, Drago evolved into Blitz Dragonoid. After that, then there was the whole battle with like Darak. Well, they stormed Gundalia. Drago battled Darak, managed to beat Darak. Drago and Darak are also the only two Bakugan that could defeat one another, because they're the ancestors of like literally both beginning father Bakugan, the Dragonoid and Daraknoid. So yeah, they go into all the detail about that. But then when he wins, he gets knocked out. Dan gets knocked out. He's held capture. Like, he's held captive. So Jake's held captive. Like, he's basically like their mindless slave. And then Dan and Drago get captured. Kazarina does some experimenting on him, duplicates Drago's DNA, splices it with Darak. That's how Darak evolves, goes off to Gundalia, well, goes off from Gundalia to Nethia while all the brawlers are there, and attacks Nethia directly. And the 12 orders stay behind to like take them all down. There's a lot that goes down with this season. And then they all go back. They obviously try to take on Darak. Darak's super strong and literally destroys all of them, like wrecks all of them in battle. Even kills some of the 12 orders because they turned on Barodius, because Barodius is just about that power. And they realize that, and now they're trying to help the brawlers and such. And then basically towards the end, it was just a battle between Dan and Drago against, Dan and Drago against Barodius and Darak. Final battle of the season. Dan wins it. Barodius still tries to go up and steal all the power of the Sacred Orb because Darak goes on it. And then basically the Sacred Orb, Code Eve, the being in the Sacred Orb, absorbs them, and we think they're gone, and that the war is over. When it comes to final battles, you know, obviously people know the Masquerade and Dan battle from the first season. That was a really hype one. Obviously the Naga and Drago one was also hype too. From the second season, it was obviously like Spectra and Helios, you know, against Dan and Drago. That was also a really hype one, basically the rival battle. And then this time it's Barodius and Darak against Dan and Drago. Overall, this battle wasn't as hype as the first two, though. You know, it was still a really good battle, but not as hype, because like they honestly, like, they made Blitz Drago look a lot stronger than Phantom Darak did. But yeah, still, it was a pretty good battle. Now, toy-wise, like, I love the Gundalian Invaders Bakugan, because they put so much work into the detail for the Bakugan. They fit a lot of detail into these Bakugan. Like, you see some of, like, the Super Assaults, like, long flying and such. There were some really, really good freaking Bakugan, dude, that were just so cool. But yeah, man, overall, like, quality-wise, I really love the Gundalian Invaders Bakugan. Probably my favorite season, like, toy product-wise. And plus, you had, like, the mobile assaults, battle gear getting introduced, which those are additives that I actually enjoyed, because they opened up just like the Bakugan did. Like, the mobile vehicles, they opened up on the card. The battle gear, they opened up when you put them on the Bakugan. Still, really, really awesome additives. Like, Darak Colossus, overall, like, because it doesn't really open, like, too much. That was one of the ones I'm like, okay, like, you know, it's the furthest I'd go with anything. Dragonoid Colossus was a lot cooler, because you drop the Bakugan on it. It came with, like, it's called Battle X Dragonoid. But, it comes on it, and then it opens everything. Like, there's battle gear that come on it, there are wings that come on it and stuff, and it all opens up when you do that. And that's one additive. That's the furthest I'd go with it, but it was still really, really freaking awesome, man. But yeah. Anyways, getting into the fourth season. Finally at the fourth season. I know this is like a half-hour long video, but it's all good. Basically, mechtanium surge. So, mechtanium surge, inner space basically gets bigger after everything. The brawlers get control of inner space once again. It actually becomes like global. It becomes absolutely freaking massive. Everybody's in there. They made the arenas bigger. And then, there's just points where, this is the point where the brawlers actually started to fall apart, which was kind of cool, because there was that point where it's like, these guys have been too perfect for too long. When is it going to break? And then, like, Dan and Drago, their power started going out of control. The Chaos Bakugan started going in. Teams Anubius and Cellon started, like, taking over in Bakugan Inner Space. And Dan and Drago actually, like, went off because they thought their power was just too much, and that it was a curse. And they flew off by themselves to New Vestroia and literally left them. And then Paige and Rafe, which is, like, Paige was a Gundalian, Rafe was a Nethian. one of the Castle Knights. They both joined in with the Brawlers and such. So Shun and Marucho, you know. And I'm gonna walk from the pavilion. I've been sitting there for a little bit, but yeah. So they join them in the battle, and then a lot of the Chaos Bakugan start coming in. So this is the season mainly with like Magmel, Raisinoid. I know a lot of people are probably confused about this season. So there's a being Magmel and Raisinoid who are like locked away. They're chained up, tied up. And they explain it further along, but basically he's taking control. He's like messing with Dan's head and everything, you know, because they share a link, and I'll get into that like a little bit. But basically, like Anubius and Celeon were created by Magmel, you know, to help him get more power. And Magmel himself was actually Barodius, and Darak was Raisinoid. And it's also really slippery on this road, and I have to go to work later. Oh God, how am I gonna get down to work? Oh no! But yeah, I'll figure it out. But yeah, anyways, they just got mutated because like when they came in contact with the Sacred Orb, this is why I said like temporarily, like momentarily, he was you know, like they were taken out. They just got mutated, honestly, and they were literally like mutant Bakugan. So yeah, but yeah, he basically just tried to get like the switch code and such that Dan and Drago had, like the gate and key that they had, so that they had the ultimate power, because it's the same power that Code Eve had, and they're the only two that had it. So if they got Dan and Drago's, then they become the ultimate being, but they wouldn't let that happen. Over time, they finally got stronger and such, you know, and they focused on Mechtanium Titans and such throughout this whole entire series. Overall, story-wise, I still like the first arc. It was still really, really good. This is the point where a lot of people were like, nah, I wasn't a big fan, like, I don't agree with you, Kimbo. I personally loved the Metal Bakugan. They were great. Just the weight of like rolling your Bakugan out was absolutely amazing. I enjoyed that a lot, actually. And even the storyline, like, I liked it a lot. Now, the Mechtanium Titans, and the Baku Nanos, those were the only thing, I'd say, in pretty much the entire series that were kind of you know. And that's because, like, you know, the Baku Nano, you push a button on it, then you put on your Bakugan. I miss it where, like, you put it on there, and then it opened by itself, you know, like, that part of the game. You know, that aspect of the game. And then the Mechtanium and Mechtanium Titans, they're basically, like, giant action figures, you know, that add more power. Which that was also kind of for the game. And like the only way that they really opened a little bit is you had like one of the cards, like they had a metal card that you put on the back of the Mechtanium and then opened up parts of it, which still, like, yeah, it's kind of cool. It still has that gimmick, which is decent, but also like like not really into the figures that much. In the show, they were honestly like really, really cool, and they explained like the whole Mechtanium thing with season 2 basically. But yeah, overall, like, story-wise, it was really, really good. Season 4 was, because then, like, he absorbed all that power from inner space. They had to delete inner space. Magmel and Raisinoid absorbed that power, and then Raisinoid evolved, and then, like, none of the power was his own. So, like, basically, Drago was like, none of that power is your own. It's been hijacked, so it's gonna fail you. And then he's like, you're full of crap. And then he started taunting him and saying, like, you're never better than me, Darak. And then Magmel got mad and said, how dare you call him by his old name. And then that was the last battle. And then they battled it out. And then, you know, that was it. So, like, in this season, it started off with Titanium Drago, because obviously after getting the power from Code Eve, Blitz Drago evolved into Titanium Drago in season 3, and then in this season, he was Titanium Drago the entire season, up until the very end, in the final battle with Magmel and Raisinoid, which was still pretty hype. It was a pretty hype battle, and then Fusion Dragonoid was made. So, yeah, man, that's the end of Season 1, Arc 1, and then there's Arc 2, which probably is not the one that's memorable for a lot of people because they probably stopped watching after that point. But yeah, basically, it was a long time after they took down Magmel and Raisinoid, and then the Bakugan actually came to Earth, because at the very end, like, you know, the Bakugan helped defend Earth from being broken up by Magmel, Raisinoid, and also the other worlds as well. But yeah, and this is where the Bakugan were battling actually on Earth and lived alongside the humans, which was really, really cool. That they had the Bakugan finally do that at long last, you know. So like everybody had Bakugan and such. But they had a battle. It started off with a battle between like basically like Dan and Shun and such, and then it was Dan and this new guy Guns with Reptak. And when they were battling, there were four there were 4 Mechtagons that got free from the darkest parts of the Doom Dimension. Now, people are like, man, why are there more Bakugan from the Doom Dimension? Weren't they all freed? They were supposed to all be freed. Basically, Fury was the main Bakugan for them, and the very first Dragonoid locked him away. The first Dragonoid, like, ever, before, like, Drago or anything, the OG Genesis Dragonoid locked Fury away in the deepest part of the Doom Dimension. So this is basically, like, to put it in, like, best terms, like, probably death row for, like, jail, you know? So, like, yeah, they got put, like, in basically jail. But, well, down there, he was really, really mad and wanted to get revenge on them. And then there are other Bakugan that he basically made, like Betadron, Mutabrid, and such, that came back to try and get revenge on him. And, you know, I'm, like, the descendant of this Dragonoid. But, yeah, so he tried to get, like, revenge on Drago, and they came back. Basically, the Mechtagon took down, yeah, the Mechtagon, Cortagon, I'm trying to remember the name, Cortagon, Slicerack, Exostriker, Mandibore, there we go, that's their names. Tried to take them down at the very beginning, and then that kind of failed, you know, because they got beat. And then after that, this dude Wise Man showed up, and then everybody was like, what the heck's going on? Guns disappeared, Wise Man showed up, and then now you have, like, these evil Mechtagon that just showed up, and they're like, what the heck? Like, what do you, you know, like, well, of course, we got to battle again, dang it. But, yeah. So it's revealed throughout the season, like, they're just trying to take down Dan and Drago, always challenging them, and they're trying to beat Wise Man and figure out who Wise Man is. And then, like, Wise Man actually takes his mask off in one episode, and it's shown that it's guns. And then he's like, oh, you freaking creep, like, of course, like, you're trying to destroy all the Bakugan and stuff, what's your deal, you know? And then it's weird because it's not guns, because basically Cortagon, who was, like, the leader of the Mectavius Destroyer, those Mechtagon that battled that day, he took the power of Guns, because Guns wanted to beat Dan so bad, but he took the evil power of Guns, basically, and used that to create a cloak for himself, and became Wise Man. Yeah, I know it's confusing. So there are basically 2 guns. So there's like he made a doppelganger of himself, and then absorbed power, and then got all the power he needed after all the battles, and then tried to take over the world, which the Brawlers got sent to the Doom Dimension, because, like, the No-Nets were the other Bakugan. They, you know, they basically got used, you know, by Cortagon, who was Wise Man, and then cast to the side. And then there were, like, 3 different groups at the very end of this one, just like how season 2 was, kind of. But yeah, so it was like the No-Nets who just got betrayed by Wise Man, and then Guns, who was actually alive, and he thought that Reptac actually turned his back on him, because they didn't know. They thought they were the same person, but they didn't at that very moment when they saw them next to each other. And then he banished them away. Wise Man banished Guns away. And then Guns took control of, like, Wise Man's helmet after he got all that power, and the suit turned red. He became another Wise Man, basically. So then there's, like, the Mectavius Destroyer that's trying to destroy the world, and then Guns, who is mad at the Brawlers and such with the No-Nets, and then basically the Brawlers, you know. So those are the 3 groups. The Brawlers got sent to the Doom Dimension, actually, and then the No-Nets got taken down, except for Betadron, who was basically the leader of them. And he rode with Guns down to the Doom Dimension to try to get revenge on Drago. So it's all F. So basically, the Brawlers are in the Doom Dimension. The No-Nets got destroyed by Mectavius Destroyer. And the last 2 people that were there literally were just going to take down Dan and Drago. It was all messed up, man. It was bad. But yeah, anyways, went down to Doom Dimension, battled. Guns finally came back too. Reptac said he was sorry and such, basically, and then and then they were all good, except they had to get out of the Doom Dimension, and on Earth everything got destroyed. So Mectavius Destroyer, actually, they hinted at this, you know, Bakugan City got destroyed, so basically Earth got destroyed, Nethia did, Gundalia did, Vestal did, like, it was all gone. New Vestroia did. Mectavius Destroyer destroyed everything, because nobody was there to stop them, because the Brawlers were in the Doom Dimension. But what happened was, they literally rode the flow of time in the Doom Dimension, and then went back to Earth before everything happened, and took them down, you know. Dan and Drago and Dragonoid Destroyer took them down. And then that's when we see Genesis Dragonoid, who does look like the Blitz Dragonoid and such. So, yeah. And then it ends with all the, like, they saved the world. Guns and Dan face off. They actually finished their battle, and then they had a celebration for Dan being like the strongest, and then Dan rode off on a boat. He rode off on a boat, basically never to, I guess, be seen again, or they just sat there and waited for them to come back. So yeah, man, that's the basic gist of the entire story of the entire series. I know it took me like 34 minutes to get it out, but yeah, that is the entire series of Bakugan the first time around. Anybody who doesn't know, like, I'm gonna even quote Dan with this: I didn't fall off the turnip truck. I actually know what I'm talking about. Like, you know, I actually watched the series a lot. I didn't just like jump on Bakugan or such. I was a big fan of it before I started my Beyblade channel, and I know it by heart, just like how I know the Beyblade show. And I think I proved that with this video. I just sat here for 35 minutes, probably gonna be 37 by the time this is over, talking about Bakugan. So yeah, overall, toy-wise, like I said, Season 4, the first arc was great. Season 2 was mainly about the Sky Raiders. Like, you know, Arc 2 of Season 4 was mainly about the Sky Raiders and such. And the Sky Raiders were, they were still really cool because they were Bakugan, like, once they rolled down, they jumped. Some of them didn't close the easiest, so, like, the feet would always stick out or something like that. They'd have, like, small errors with that. But yeah, man, anyways, it was just it was just a great time the first time around, dude. But one thing people didn't even realize is just how dark Bakugan got. Every single season somebody died, like legit, like, you know, Noble Lion and Wyvern in the first season. The second season, like, basically all of the Vestals, well, you know, all of the Vexos except for Spectra basically went down. Except for Spectra and Gus, they all basically went down. That includes, like, Xenoheld and Hydron and even their dad. Like, that's pretty wild, dude. It got dark. It got really freaking dark. And even, like, and Hydron throwing in, like, this ball that literally created a black hole and sent them to the first parts of the dimension to kill them. But that's pretty wild. And a few of them had that at the very end. And then, obviously, in Season 3, you know, Jin, the former, like, leader of the Castle Knights, Fabia's fiance, because she had a fiance, got taken down. Neo got taken down. Like, a few Bakugan got taken down. A lot of the 12 Orders got taken down as well, dude. It was crazy. And then, obviously, in Season 4, like, we thought Spectra at first, because Spectra came back in Season 4, which was really cool. But he didn't get taken down in inner space, but, like, every single season there was that, like, Barodius and, well, not Barodius and Darak, well, Magmel and Razanoid, basically, in that season. And then Season 2, it was Mechtavius, Destroyer, and such. And then they hinted at everybody getting killed if they didn't stop Mechtavius Destroyer, which that was a crazy way of doing it, where the Brawlers, that's the closest the Brawlers ever got to actually losing, which is pretty crazy, dude. But yeah, people slept on this series. Like, it was, it was definitely more of, like, it wasn't as much of, like, a kid's show. It was like they portrayed Beyblade, you know, like Bakugan, they were much less PG than that, you know, like there was death implied with a lot of things. It was like mainly PG-13 type of show. So yeah, dude, it was really awesome the first time around. And yeah, dude, I'm just saying, like, Spin Master, I know if you guys watch my videos, just know, like, the first time around I really enjoyed it. Literally, the only things I'd say were bad with it were just, like, the Baku Nanos and the Mechagon Titans. That's about it. And maybe Darak Colossus stretching it a little bit. Dragonoid Colossus was stretching it. That's the first I'd go with it. But, yeah, that's at least my thoughts on the first time around. Yeah, dude, I know this is a longer video. I know it's like a 40-minute long video, but it shows how much I care about this, how much I wanted people to know, like, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to Bakugan and such. When I went to the event, I can name basically every Bakugan that was on the wall that was old school, and now knowing the new school Bakugan and such. But yeah, but obviously being a big-time Bakugan fan since I was a kid, I'm just so glad that it's back, man. I am over the moon. I'm so excited, dude. And just going to this event, like, back in December, absolute dream come true. And just, it's crazy. Like, anybody who sees any footage of me on there, I was really flipping out the entire time. Now you see why. Because I've loved this show since I was a kid. And it's back, and I'm so excited. But yeah, obviously a reboot. Things going to be different. But I'll just tell you what, if they get dark like that in this season, that'll be, in this series at all, that'll be pretty wild, man. But yeah, anyways, that is it for this video. My thoughts on the old Bakugan series. Had to explain, like, a lot of the events of the old series. Go into the details with, like, each season. Also the toy line for each season. So, yeah. But yeah, anyways, you guys, hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to slice that like button down below. Let me know how I did. Hope I opened some eyes like to some people who might not have known all the little details and stuff. And plus, even season 4, those who didn't like it, like Spectra came back in the first part, Mira came back in the second. They had all the characters come back, which is really, really cool, especially those two. So yeah. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to slice that like button down below. Let me know how I did. If you're new to my channel, definitely be sure to subscribe for epic content because I upload daily. And if you haven't already, be sure to ring that bell by my channel name to be notified whenever I upload a video. And yeah, outside in 48-degree weather for 40 minutes in a tank top and shorts. But it's okay. But yeah, till next time, it's your boy Kimbo signing off. See you later. Thanks for watching. Till then, stay awesome. And Bakugan, bro! I'm up out of here.